So today I'm doing a video about hospital errors and shitty hospitals. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it in videos or on Facebook. Some of you who follow me, know me, whatever, about our local hospital. And, well, this hospital sucks. The doctors are rude. I've been turned down before. The very last time I was at that hospital, they usually had, cab vouchers for people who live local. And then I was told all of a sudden, oh, we don't have any cab vouchers anymore. You have to go home yourself. So I was made to walk all fucking night. Like, what, 5 fucking hours in between breaks?
Yeah, it was like 5 or 6 hours.
I had to walk from that fucking hospital all the way home. And this is because the doctors, like I said, they snottily told me, oh, well, we don't have any cab vouchers anymore. We're not gonna blah, blah, blah.
And this was after 1 a.m.
Mm-hmm. And I found out that the hospital supposedly pays for these cab vouchers. They give them out and they pay the bill, whatever. Well, that doesn't matter because they know I'm diabetic. They know I'm heat intolerant. They know that walking long distances can kill me because I have a herniated disc in my back. I have an ovarian tumor. Like I said, I'm diabetic, fucking heat intolerant. And, and then to go further, I ask if I could stay in the lobby overnight. I'll read a magazine, I won't bother anybody. No, you're not a patient anymore. You have to get off this property.
You have to leave the property.
Or we'll call the police and you'll be arrested for trespassing.
And this was the same hospital, for those who are going to be watching this video who know my channel, sXeblues, but I think I might have put this video up on my secondary channel. I don't remember anymore because there were a couple of them. This was the same hospital that turned her away and told her just get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times was that? Was that 2 or 3 times?
3.
3.
Yeah, because there was a time I went in there, I didn't have a primary doctor yet, and they told me, you come back to this hospital if you still have stomach pain from the tumor or whatever's wrong with you. Your back pain gets worse, you run out of pain medication. I go in there with stomach pain, and I say, well, you told me this. Come back if you don't yet have a primary doctor. If your pain get worse, you don't have anything for the pain. Not only did I sit there for like 2 fucking hours, but then the doctor comes in with the charge nurse and security, and I'm told that I'm a fucking junkie because I'm in pain and I don't yet have a doctor.
This after she was not only instructed to do exactly this, come back to the hospital.
But they diagnosed me with an ovarian tumor and said, yeah, we understand how bad this can be. You come back if you need to.
And adding the biggest insult to injury, at that point, she had an appointment with a primary care doctor
set up. And I told him that. I said, I haven't seen the person yet, but I'm going to be in a couple months. Well, you can wait a couple months. And I said, yeah, so what if this pain kills me if it gets bad enough? Oh, well, then you're still not...
And it was already to the point where she had to call an ambulance because it was that excruciating.
And they told me, well, you're still not going to get anything for your pain. Ugh.
Now, here's the amazing thing. Not to segue or anything, but this is all precursor to something that now is being published in at least 4 of our local newspapers about this hospital. They are facing criminal allegations and being shut down. Take it away. You know more about it than I do. I'm just like flabbergasted, the stuff they're being accused of and that they've done. And
yeah, let's go back a little further. Maybe 2 or 3 decades ago, before our mom died, she went to this hospital and she had a bad experience. Doctors and nurses were assholes. They were telling her they wouldn't give her anything for her diabetes or pain or blah blah blah. She was getting turned down. She didn't have medical insurance, but she was trying to get it. But the hospital that claims they're non-profit and helping people, they said, no, you can't come back here. We're not going to have,
And this was her second to last before passing away hospital visit. The last hospital she ever stayed in, we traveled 2 towns and an entire county away.
Like 4 fucking hours
because
away.
She was, like, criminally nightmarified by this hospital.
Yeah.
This local hospital that we're talking about.
And it's just... You know, and I have gotten sicker when I was there. I recently had an abscess on my face that had to be lanced, and, you know, I guess they call it cellulitis or whatever the fuck, but they wanted to make sure it wasn't staph or MRSA or something like that. So I had to stay there for, like, what was it, like 3 fucking days, 4 days?
Yeah.
And within 2 days of being in that fucking hospital, I started having a worsening sensation of pain in my stomach, chest pain. They wouldn't do shit about it.
Respiratory
until
issues.
Finally they said, oh, well, you have asthma. I fucking knew that already. And then they said, well, you have a urinary tract infection. And I'm like, okay, I didn't think anything of it. So building up to the news story, the recent event.
Covered in at least 4 papers that we've seen.
Our neighbor brought it to our attention because they know I've had problems with this hospital. There was apparently a massive sewage leak on 2 of the floors.
Internally in the hospital. Not on the grounds, in the actual second and third floors of the hospital.
Not in the grass, not in the boiler room, blah, blah, blah. In the fucking hospital itself. And from like the 2nd to 3rd floor, there was sewage in the roof, leaking into other patients' rooms, leaking into the food preparation places, like the cafeteria where they make the patients food and they set the shit out to put it on the tray.
Or visitors. If you're a visitor and you're visiting someone in the hospital, you go eat lunch, you're going to admit yourself by the end of the day.
But apparently sewage was getting into the air vents and dripping down into the food and the plates and on the walls.
Patient rooms. Think of water damage when you see the water damage in the ceiling.
Too, they refused to move the patients from the contaminated sewage-filled rooms.
Yeah.
You could see brown and yellow stains on the ceilings and the walls, on the floor. You know, and we've seen this when we've been there before the whole sewage thing happened.
Not knowing it was something literally deadly.
And something I've never seen in the papers, as of yet we don't know if they've been caught for on violations as such, but I've heard stories from people that they've reused needles between patients to cut costs, and they don't want to have to spend money on new medical equipment.
This being largely, as she said, speculations. There's been no proof of that as yet. But with everything else
that's going on,
and that was only just half of it. There's also vermin infestation.
They said that there were rats in the roof and the ceiling of the hospital, and to make matters worse, the food section, they were hearing noises in the walls and they weren't sure what it was, and then they found out it was rats. So they had a sewage leak and they have rats, and you know.
This hospital, we don't know exactly how long it's been around, but it's been around for probably a couple decades, at least several decades, probably since the 60s or 70s. And we're talking, this is one of those great pinnacle moments of infrastructure being completely ignored. The local government, city officials, I mean, we're talking about a city that for the last, 5 or so, 10 years since we've lived where we live now, I've seen many times online news stories about corruption and stealing money. One of our local mayors or governors or whatever blew his brains out in a park because he was facing allegations in court and everything, going to jail, going to prison. So it's no fucking wonder that this place earned its title a long time ago. Before our mother passed away, we called it Hell Hotel. And it's very much now living up to that name. Very absolutely hilarious that anywhere we've ever gone locally, even to our sort of hub city in our county, from there to within our own town, in the confines of our own town, anyone we mention this hospital to by name. We were sitting in a pharmacy that one time waiting for a prescription, and we just happened to be talking about the hospital. This guy was sitting there. No, it was just the guy.
That's right. I was there when there was a couple. That was a different...
Yeah. But this guy, he overhears us, and he's just like, I hope you don't mind. I wasn't eavesdropping or anything, but I heard you mention this. And he goes on to tell us about how his wife had been sick. She was there. And I think, if I remember correctly, they had to transfer her out of there because
her
grandmother or something got sicker in the hospital.
The hospital was trying to fight it, saying, "Oh, you can't transfer to another hospital. Oh, it's her being sick. It's not our fault." And then another thing they said in the paper about the sewage spill is it's not the doctor's responsibility to move the patients. Okay.
Really?
So, yeah.
Hippocratic oath up the ass? What the fuck does that mean?
So the doctors are not responsible for cleaning up the mess and transferring patients. Get a fucking janitor. Get somebody who will move them out. No, better yet,
it's the doctors and the nurses' responsibility
to care for the patient.
The amazing thing is, this just about 2 weeks ago, or maybe about a month ago, I read in the paper, there was a chief surgeon for the heart surgery center at this hospital. There was some minced words. They didn't come right out and say why exactly this was, but this guy wanted the hell out of there.
He didn't want to
He wanted to transfer.
Hospital.
They were fighting to keep him. There were some, as I say, minced words, like he wasn't coming out and just saying anything negative.
Yeah, he went to the hospital a town up.
Yeah, covering his own ass, though, on his way out. And, of course, the hospital itself, the people, bureaucracy, oh, he was such a great help and blah, 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 and we'll miss him and hopefully he'll do greater things. But, gee, no fucking surprise why this guy took off now that all these allegations and the proof is in the pudding. These guys are facing, their biggest sort of, the thing that they're, before any sort of court and everything like that, sued, shut down, all of that, they're getting penalized for their Medicare coverage, what they can expect when patients who have Medicare go in. And the paper basically tells us that they were putting all their bucks sort of on Medicare patients because in our community, it's all the above 65 retirees. They have Medicare, they have Medicaid, all these things. So they wanted to make the hot dollar on all the people with one foot in the grave already or people who are disabled and have Medicare. The problem with that is they started losing money because of shit like this that's ongoing. And then they started, that's why she got the shit treatment she got because she had Medicare. And they knew they're not getting as much as they ought to be getting. And why is that? Well, because they're being penalized. Yeah, they can't charge her as much as they can normal patients, people who have the money to pay, so on and so forth. They're stuck having to deal with it. And so they start becoming lackluster in the health care. And now we find out sewage, vermin infestation, all these things, not to mention misdiagnoses and people being sent to rehab facilities and psychotherapy facilities because the people there are inept. They don't know. They don't have compassion. They don't have conscience. They don't have, the patience to understand and deal with the problem. Everyone is under a crunch because of that whole financial meltdown going on. But now we see it's even worse.
So they've been doing for years covering up secrets and lies and cutting corners. And only now it gets called out for the sewage. So this could uncover years and years of stuff.
Yeah, tip of the iceberg.
And that's another thing I heard, not only to do with the sewage and rats, but they don't have a pest control there. They don't have a mandatory pest control service at this hospital.
No way to deal with it. They don't know what they're doing.
And, when I was admitted there, I remember, an occasion where I called the nurse, and they have the little buttons and everything. And when the woman's walking by, she's like, oh, they need to take those trays out so people can't call out the nurses and we don't have to be bothered, something like that. And then the male nurse or whoever the hell was talking to her is like, oh, well, a lot of them can get up out of their beds. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, leave them to it. Let the patients who can't walk, are bedridden, fuck them. Essentially.
Just crazy.
It's amazing. I mean, there's a level of satisfaction in after so long being shittily treated. I think I invented a word, shittily, for so long, and knowing how bad the place is.
It finally gets called out.
Yeah, being called out on it. But I mean, there is so much else bad
about the thing. There's still no closure because there's a lot more going on that we haven't seen yet.
I mean, again, talking about some of the worst things, really bad medical care misdiagnoses, people going in for one problem, leaving with 6 more.
There was a story I remember a couple of years ago, not to cut you off, but I think it was a guy who had to get an amputation done, and they took the wrong leg off, and then he lost both fucking legs.
Yeah. So, wow.
This is why I will travel via bus for 1 hour to the hospital a town up from us, which is the better fucking hospital, nicer people, bigger hospital, nice, they take the time to care about the patients, and they're not going to sit there and ignore you.
Oh, and why take the bus? Because the local ambulance and emergency people are trying to outlaw having to travel such a far distance.
Because they're not getting paid.
Yeah. People who can't afford or, to pay in bulk, or even people who are being billed, most people don't have the money that they want for that far of a trip. And so
like when I said, can't you take me to the next hospital up? They're like, no, we're not allowed to do that. Bullshit.
They are supposed to take you, and in just medical profession, entirely, it's the patient's word. You could be, you could have cancer, be at that nth stage where, if you cure it right now and you get the surgery, you could be done with it, but it's your choice. They can't force you to get that surgery. They can't force you to get that medical coverage or whatever it is. It's always down to the patient. So an ambulance shouldn't be able to tell you where the hell you're going. You should be able to decide what doctor you see, what healthcare place, facility you want to go to, and whether or not, it's like I said, I mean, there are just stupid things like, somebody can come in and say, well, my religious faith, I can't be cut open and yada yada, and they're going to go to their faith healer or whatever. But it's not just that. It's every single human being has the right to turn away or request whatever they want, whatever coverage and place they want to go to for that coverage. So what happens with this hospital when it probably inevitably will be shut down or come under new ownership, management, and refurbished, whatever, for the time that it's going to be out for the count? They're going to have no fucking choice. They're going to have to cart their asses 2 towns up.
Yep.
Unfucking believable.
Yeah, and one more thing on the subject is, like, every fucking doctor is like a shithead there. Maybe 1 or 2 was nice to me, but, like, you couldn't tell whether it was, just being nice. But, like, we went to the hospital a couple towns up, and only 1 person was a shithead there. 1 person out of every other fucking doctor, nurse, staff, volunteer, whatever. This hospital in town, every fucking doctor and nurse is a prick.
It's absolutely the reverse, 180-degree turn. You go up to this other hospital, like she said, there was only 1 lady who was kind of a crackpot. We only saw in the wee hours of the morning when I was there, having checkups and everything. Everybody else was so genuine, compassionate, out and out friendly, and really made you feel welcomed and cared about.
And they would check on you every 20 to 30 minutes unless you needed them sooner and you buzzed them. Whereas this hospital, I waited like hours.
And there was maybe 2 people who were even remotely genial and borderline friendly in that entire time. Everybody else in this local hospital with all these problems, complete and utter pricks and assholes. I mean, really. And it's something that I believe stems from when you get down to all these problems coming to light, they're going to be under financial sort of punishment, if you will, and that's going to make them not pay their employees that much more, and that's going to make those people more assholey and shit like that. They're not going to
want to do it.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with it because they're not getting paid enough, because this fucking hospital is a goddamn dump, is what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fucking just watch out, man. Just fucking look into hospitals and everything. You have an emergency, you got to know where to go and where to avoid. Because, fuck damn.